Hi everyone, it's Molly. I decided to do my presentation on my iSearch, which is me researching about whether or not to be vegetarian to help fight global warming. So that's what I'm going to do. So to be or not to be vegetarian. So why I wanted to research being vegetarian is because recently global warming has been a big topic of conversation, and there's been a lot of talk about how farming animals feeds into the global warming. So I wanted to do my part in fighting global warming, but I didn't want to have to sacrifice eating meat, which is something I've done my whole life. And I didn't want to just give up meat without knowing that being vegetarian is something that would actually help global warming and climate change. So some vegetarianism history. Vegetarianism has been a practice for many years in many religions, like the different denominations and different sects of Christianity. Many practice vegetarianism because they believe that killing and harming animals is an unethical practice. Vegetarianism is also a common practice in ancient Greece. In more recent years, vegetarianism has shifted from being a cultural and religious practice to more of a personal one. So by that, I mean that many have decided to be vegetarian for their own health, their own ethical reasons, or practicing vegetarianism as a personal fight against climate change. And they don't have a religion or culture to force them to do that. They made that decision on their own by their own free will. So some environmental impacts because I researched about being vegetarian to see whether it would help global warming. So I wanted to see what environmental impacts eating meat caused. So this graph from an article named "You Want to Reduce the Carbon Footprint of Your Food, Focus on What You Eat, Not Whether Your Food is Local," and it clearly shows that the animal products and meat have a very large carbon footprint. So the author Hannah Ritchie states that overall animal-based food tends to have a higher footprint than plant-based. Lamb and cheese both emit more than 20 kilograms CO2 equivalents per kilogram. Poultry and pork have lower footprints but are still higher than most plant-based foods at 6 and 7 kilograms CO2 equivalents respectively. Plant-based food produce less greenhouse gases by a very, very large margin. So some more environmental impacts. In reading an article named Cheap Meat, I learned that farming has polluted water when animal feces run into the water. So basically, since animals are kept in such a confined space, their feces and pee has also been kept in a very confined space. So this feces soaks into the ground and that kind of runs off into water sources that are very close. So a quote that I found from the article was, "Even though these waste lagoons are intended to confine massive waste produced, the reality is that spills frequently occur and often with drastic consequences." In 1998, a 100-gallon spill in Minnesota killed approximately 691,000 fish in a 19-mile stretch of major stream. So even though there are preventative measures to try and stop polluting water from farming, the only way that I believe we can truly prevent so much water pollution is by stopping or cutting down on farms. So one thing I also wanted to know is, am I alone in this? Am I going to get backed up? Are we all fighting global warming? So if I'm going to be vegetarian to fight global warming, I want to know that I'm not the only one fighting for the cause. For my research I've seen that many millennials in my generation, Generation X, is just as eager to fight climate change as me. So in an article named "Millennials are driving the worldwide shift away from meat," the author, Michael Rowland, points out that there has been a drastic change in how much more plant-based food is being purchased and eaten. Millennials are shaking up industries everywhere. Just ask the meat industry, which is seeing its customers increasingly turn towards plant-based alternatives at a blistering pace. So this information has helped with my decision, because now if I decide to become vegetarian, I know I will just be one reason that global warming and climate change slows down or is stopped. So my decision. After all this, I decided that I will become vegetarian. My generation was left with a mess of climate change to deal with, and I do not want to be the one person that just sits around and hopes for it to go away. I want to be an active member to fight against climate change, and becoming vegetarian is just a small part of what I can do in my everyday life to fight global warming. So yeah, so these are my works cited. Thank you guys. Bye.